But Scorsese did not give up, especially since Warner Brothers had approved his idea to adapt the novel Wise Guy by Nicholas Pileggi for the screen. Back when he was working on The Color of Money, while skimming through the New York Times, the director had stumbled upon a review for Wise Guy. That same day, he made a few calls and got a copy of the book about the rise and fall of the gangster Henry Hill, even before it was available in stores. A few days later, he was already at Pileggi's door. As soon as the door opened, Martin declared that he wanted to make a movie out of the book. The author replied that he had never imagined any other director but him for the job. They worked on the script together, but because of the time-consuming film schedule of The Last Temptation of Christ, they had to put it off. A year later, he didn't want to go back to a gangster story and considered scrapping it altogether. But his friends Thelma Schoonmaker and Michael Powell insisted that he follow his goal, resulting in perhaps the greatest mafia biopic ever.
To me, being a gangster was better than being president of the United States.
His interest was piqued again by a new take on the text. Schoonmaker suggested that they create a nonlinear plotline and get rid of the clear chronological order of events. In the process, the title also changed, because in those 2 years, Brian De Palma's Wise Guy was released, as well as a TV show of the same name. That's how Scorsese came to direct the crime drama Goodfellas.
He's a good fella, he's one of us. You understand? We were good fellas, wise guys.
The bosses at Warner wanted to find a first-class actor for the lead. Martin invited Al Pacino to play the role of Jimmy Conway, but he said no, because he didn't want to continue to play the stereotypical gangsters. Ironically, that same year he played a typical mafia in the crime comedy Dick Tracy.
Boys, we're back in business!
When the search was not successful, the director went to his old friend Robert De Niro for advice. When he asked him who he saw playing Jimmy, the actor replied, "Me." The duo's reunion charmed the studio, and they immediately gave the director a $25 million budget. De Niro didn't stop there and helped him find an actor to play Henry Hill. "Get the guy from Something Wild."
You're right. You're right.
Ray Liotta waited for approval for over a year and turning down the opportunity to play Harvey Dent in Batman. The auditions didn't impress Scorsese, but he was convinced by accident. At the Venice Film Festival, after a showing of The Last Temptation of Christ, Martin was walking surrounded by bodyguards, and Liotta walked up to him through the crowd even though security pushed him away like a cloying fan. However, Ray was not deterred and continued to try. That was when Scorsese decided to hire him, because Henry Hill was famous for keeping his cool even during the most aggressive situations.
Karen, just put it down.
Lorraine Bracco, Harvey Keitel's wife, got the female lead.
Some nerve standing me up. Nobody does that to me. Who the hell do you think you are? Frankie Valli or some kind of big shot?
Tommy DeVito was played by Joe Pesci. After Raging Bull, Martin had found the ideal companion for De Niro.
Huh? You gonna get me? We're gonna work for this guy one day. He's gonna be a boss.
Before shooting started, the sound editor received 43 songs from Scorsese for the soundtrack. He had been compiling the playlist ever since he had read the book. In the spring of '89, in Martin's old neighborhood in Queens, they started shooting Goodfellas.
I could do anything. I knew everybody, and everybody knew me.
As was his custom, most of the dialogue is improvised, and some of the scenes Scorsese created as they went. The scene with the cold reaction to being complimented is actually a story from the life of Joe Pesci.
Tommy, no, you got it all wrong.
Oh, Anthony. He's a big boy. He knows what he said. What'd you say?
You're right.
Funny how?
When he was young, he worked as a waiter and accidentally and naively showed his appreciation of the funny behavior of a real gangster. Between takes, the actor reminisced about the situation, and the director decided then and there to film it. The director only warned Ray Liotta, which is why the film crew and the extras watched what was happening with sincere curiosity.
How do I know? You said I'm funny. How the fuck am I funny? What the fuck is so funny about me? Tell me. Tell me what's funny.
Speaking of extras, it's worth mentioning that it turned out that dozens of representatives from the mafia world actually took part. Scorsese fans got on set by pretending to be amateur actors, and in the accounting department at Warner, they noticed that the extras were using fake social security numbers as well as pseudonyms. Fat Andy, on the other hand, was played by cop Luis Ippolito.
And then there was Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
His father, uncle, and brother were all mafia. And in 2005, it turned out that Luis himself wasn't above breaking the law. the policeman was given life in prison for racketeering, extortion, and 8 murders.
Louis Ippolito and Stephen Caracappa were sentenced to life in prison with no possibility for parole.
The original film prototypes helped its production. There was an anonymous advisor on set who knew all of the gangsters personally, and Henry Hill and De Niro spoke on the phone every day, where Robert would ask the smallest details of his behavior, like how did he hold a cigarette or a glass, even how he poured his ketchup. Hill was so involved in the picture that after the premiere he couldn't hold himself back and let the paparazzi know where he was. Because of this, the US government excluded him from their witness protection program.
Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. And now it's all over.
The main test of the director's skill was the long shot at the Copacabana Club, where Martin had celebrated his graduation 30 years prior.
Hey, how come we can't get... I know you're waiting for a cake. I'll be right with you.
The scene was inspired by a similar method from Brian De Palma's Untouchables.
Say when he sees terror, when he sees coercion, when he sees crime, he can say...
In order to get the desired effect, it took the director 7 takes, which took 3 days of shooting. The 6th attempt didn't cut it because the legendary comedian Henny Youngman forgot his lines.
How are you all? I'm glad to be here.
Besides the long shots, the director was worried about the wardrobe.
Hi, Mom. What do you think? Look at my shoes. Aren't they great?
My God. You look like a gangster.
This obsession was bordering on absurd. For example, he would not begin shooting until he personally retied Liotta's tie, or insisted that they reshoot because one of the mafia extras was disheveled or ragged. The hardest scene for Ray was the one where he has cocaine withdrawal, because the director had to try and explain the sensation to an actor who had never experienced something like that, and help him to act naturally. Surprisingly, the dominating figure of the set was Joe Pesci.
What the fuck are you looking at?
For his improvisation and unexpected remarks and dramatic scenes. The death of Spider, Joe dubbed the most difficult scene in his career.
You gonna let this fucking punk get away with that? What's the matter? What's the world coming to?
In order to find the right motivation for the act, he spent months reading the biography of Tommy DeSimone. After the premiere, Hill said that Pesci had played him perfectly.
Very funny, guys.
Here's a leg.
It's a wing. What do you like, the leg or the wing, Henry?
Considering the actor is 11 inches shorter and twice as skinny, that praise was impressive.
Why don't you just leave it alone now? I mean, I understand what you said. You know, the guy's talented. Leave it at that.
Even the final scene with Tommy's shot was created in the moment. It was not just an allusion to the Great Train Robbery, but another typical focus on the main character. As for the scene with Pesci with the young and not yet famous Samuel L. Jackson, with time, it would achieve cult status.
Yeah, you're always fucking late. You're late for your own fucking funeral.
The editing of the film was influenced by Martin's love for the movie Jules and Jim. That was where he got the idea for the voice behind the camera and the stop motion.
Avant de vous connaître tous les deux, je ne riais jamais. Je faisais des têtes comme ça.
As far back as I could remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Don't say you have to go. Don't say you need to run. I'll stop the clock on Central Station and we can have a drink.
No! I'll get it! I'll get it, buddy!
Oh, lover. Oh, lover. Please.
She's gonna be working. Okay? Oh, sounds good.
Now take me to jail.
Surprisingly, the violent and bloody parade did not mortify the Motion Picture Association. In order to give Goodfellas an R rating, they only required that they cut out half a second of material.
I don't want to get blood on your floor.
The studio bosses, however, were another problem altogether. After the pre-screenings, the film got the worst reviews in the history of Warner Brothers. The numbers were so low, it was comical. Despite the reaction, on the 19th of September 1990, the reel was released to the public without any changes.
It's fucking great. Nice.
Mr. Conway!
Goodfellas won over audiences and went down in the history of cinema. Critics sung the praises of the director. It was the reaction that he had been trying to get for decades. It was the pinnacle of the genre that sparked an interest in gangster films for the next 20 years. The picture was able to eclipse the third installment of The Godfather, which was released 3 months later. And though yes, the Oscars were mostly dominated by Dances with Wolves by Kevin Costner, Joe Pesci got a statuette that reflected the strength of the movie.
Oh, it's my privilege, thank you.
Perhaps the loss hurt Martin's feelings once more, but this time, he really believed that he had achieved his best as a director. Thankfully, Martin was wrong. Hey, do you like our work? Let us know with your like and comment, push that subscribe button, and share with your friends. If you want to support the project financially, become our sponsor on Patreon or YouTube sponsorship. Thank you.